So there are reports going around that Roman Reigns plans to take a lot more time off, in the coming months. You know, and what that tells me, first of all, is he's not winning the tag titles with Solo. He's not doing that because that would basically kill the tag division. Now, I would definitely believe, honestly, Vince is pulling the strings more so than anything if they were to give Solo and Roman the tag titles at Night of Champions and then he takes time off. Because, as word, spreads a lot over time, Vince is not very fond of tag team wrestling, so what better way to really try to kill it than to put the title on somebody that's not going to always be there. So, I don't think Roman and Solo are going to win. But the reports are suggesting that it's going to be very soon that Roman takes the time off. So, a lot of people are wondering, what does this mean? Well, there is speculation that Roman could take time off and he could take the championships with him, just like Brock Lesnar used to do with the Universal Championship or the WWE Championship, depending on which one he had. And that didn't work out for anybody in the long run, period. Which is why they got it off him when they did. However, now, you're looking at the fact that SmackDown is on Fox, and WWE is trying their best to either stay on Fox or maybe head on to NBC with SmackDown. And honestly, if reports are true about Roman taking more time off, and he's currently the Undisputed Champion that represents SmackDown, the Undisputed Universal Champion that represents SmackDown, then I'll be honest with you, that is not a good look. That is not a good look for WWE if they're trying to keep SmackDown on network television, whether it's Fox or NBC. That's not a good look. Because why would any of these networks want to have anything to do with you if your number one champion, the one person that everybody tunes into to watch, and that's a fact, whether anybody wants to admit that or not, that's a fact. Why would they want to work with WWE to make a deal to air SmackDown if the one guy that people tune into to watch the most, who is the Undisputed Universal Champion, the guy that's going to hit 1,000 days as Undisputed Champion, why would they want to negotiate to have SmackDown on either one of the networks if that guy's not going to be around, as your champion? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, whatsoever from a negotiating standpoint when it comes to wanting to give SmackDown a new home or retain the home that they're currently on. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense or anything. So the question obviously is, when does Roman drop these belts, to coincide with him leaving, as reports are going around that the more time he spends less in WWE, the more he's getting himself ready for his Hollywood debut. When is the most appropriate time? And people honestly are saying right now, and JD from NY206 reading this report is saying this right now, that the obvious opportunity that WWE has to prevent Roman from taking these titles with him, a la Brock Lesnar, for who knows how long, he'll be gone, because apparently he's going to take a very extensive break, from WWE. JD, he's looking at the possibilities that the two most likely areas for Roman to drop the belts is Money in the Bank in London, or it's going to be SummerSlam in Detroit. Now, all eyes are pointing towards SummerSlam. There's no doubt. And all eyes, eyes and obvious hints are pointing towards Cody being the one that's going to dethrone him at SummerSlam. But is Roman going to be basically, I guess you could say, wrapping up that decision a lot quicker, if he's going to leave before then? You see, that's the question. That's the question. Is he going to be wrapping up the decision to have him drop the belts to Cody or whoever they decide to have him drop it to, before then, if his extended vacation, his break, starts right after or around Money in the Bank. Is that going to cause it to be ramped up to be done at Money in the Bank? Well, if somebody cashes in on Roman, at Money in the Bank after, let's say, he has a title defense and they become the champion. To me, that's the only solution I could look at, as being, reasonable to get the belt off him if his, his extensive break, his vacation for who knows how long it's going to be begins around that time. So to me, it'll be interesting as to what WWE does, because again, if WWE decides, hey, we'll let Roman keep the belts while he's on his break, that's not a good look for them. That's not a good look, because again, you're trying to negotiate a deal to get SmackDown to stay either on Fox or be moved over to NBC. And if you're not going to have Roman Reigns as your current, Universal Champion, Undisputed Universal Champion, if you're not going to have him on SmackDown while he's still champion, and he's going to be gone for who knows how long, as champion, it's not a good look. I mean, this is why, let's be honest, this is why they finally got the belts off Brock and haven't really let Brock touch those titles that much at all. Because of the fact that they know that he'll have a schedule identical to Roman's. And that because he'll have a schedule identical to Roman's, that means he's not always going to be around. And you don't want that. And obviously, even though they tried to do that to put a lot more importance and relevance to the championship that Brock had, it basically, at the end of the day, came back, to bite them. It came back to bite them, not just, from a business standpoint, but from a wrestler standpoint, because all the wrestlers who you would think would be in contention to be champion couldn't become champion because there was no champion to fight. So that's why they finally made the decision of, hey, we got to get this belt off him and put it on someone that's going to always be here. So now what I'm trying to get at, they're at a very similar, very familiar standpoint, to where now, it all depends on when Roman's break initially begins. If his break begins, around or after SummerSlam, then yeah, he's dropping the belts then. But if his break starts after or around Money in the Bank, then yeah, he's got to drop the belts then too. Because it's not a good look from a business standpoint for WWE. It's not. It's like basically, if you're, let's say you're, a fan of the NFL, right? Hold on. Sorry for that interruption. But like I said, basically, it's not a good business look for them. Because it's like, let's say you're the NFL. If you're a fan of the NFL, and, you're putting out the schedule like they recently did, and the Chiefs are scheduled to face all these teams. This is Super Bowl champs, right? This is the defending champs, right? And they are basically going to face all these different teams and all that, for the next, for the 15, 16 week schedule, 17 week schedule, I should say. They're going to face them, right? It'd be basically like if the Chiefs decided, you know what? We're not going to play for half of that 17 schedule. In other words, they're saying, you know what? We're not going to play 8 of those games or 9 of those games. We're not going to play them, but we're still going to be, the defending champs. We're still going to get into the playoffs, because we're the champs. We're all that matters, and everything. And honestly, what that does is, logically, it would cause them to forfeit 8 or 9 of their games. But if we look at it from a scenario of what I'm talking about, it'd basically be like the Chiefs are essentially, robbing the fans from seeing the defending champs all the time. They're robbing them. They're robbing them from seeing them play every week or at least for those 17 weeks of schedule. You know, and that's not good for business. That's not a good look for the NFL if they allowed the Chiefs to do something like that. And the same goes for Roman Reigns. It's not a good business look for WWE if they allow Roman to say, yeah, I'm going to take an extensive break for the next 4 months while I'm still your undisputed champion and ain't nothing you can do about it. That's not a good look, especially when you're in the middle of TV rights deals. It's not. Because again, just like, let's say the NFL let the Chiefs do that, that's not a good look for them when it comes to the TV rights, you know, pertaining to broadcasting the games, whether it's NBC, ABC, CBS, ESPN, you know, NFL Network, Amazon Prime, if you will, Peacock, you know, the list goes on, and potentially other ones in the future, like Paramount and such, and Netflix, if they get into it, you know, the list goes on. It wouldn't be a good look for them, and nobody would want anything to do with them, because if they're going to allow the defending champs to only play half their schedule and still get in the playoffs, still make it to the Super Bowl, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And the same goes for WWE. If they allow Roman Reigns to take an extensive break, more so than he's taken already, you know, especially at a time when they're trying to negotiate a deal to keep SmackDown either on Fox or move it to NBC, to keep, you know, Monday Night Raw and NXT on USA, or move them to, let's say, Paramount, or, you know, to, I don't know what other network there is, Paramount, FX, if you will, you know, whatever network they get to deal with, you know, it's not a good, you know, this would not be a good look for them while they're trying to currently make these negotiations happen. You know, I mean, heck, even if WWE ends up on the same network as AEW, but on different nights, you know, it's not a good look. You know, it's not a good look for them whatsoever. If you get what I'm saying. So honestly, you know, this is going to be an interesting situation for them, because now they got to come up with that decision of, okay, how do we, you know, get around this? How do we, you know, keep our undisputed, you know, Universal Championship, you know, on SmackDown, while the guy that's currently holding it is not going to be here. You see, they got themselves in a situation, and this is what a lot of people said was going to come back to bite them. Moments like this, like basically they're saying, look, you did not have to put the belts or both belts on Roman. You didn't have to do that. Or, hey, if you knew he was going to take a more extensive break than what he is to get ready for Hollywood, maybe you should have given, you know, the belts to Cody. But they, you know, at WrestleMania, but they didn't. And now it's coming back to bite them. You know, when I look at this, I am hoping and praying that they turn this into some kind of storyline, hopefully, you know, before or after Roman gets back from his break. You know, turn it into some kind of storyline that reveals the fact that the reason Roman's doing all this is to get back at the WWE for not adhering to his, you know, to his demand of, you know, shutting the company down during the pandemic. You know, because to me, it makes a lot of sense that could, you know, that from a storyline perspective, and the reason he's been acting the way he has in story, you know, to me that makes a lot of sense. It, you know, really intertwines and connects, if you will, because it seems that he's not just doing this for acknowledgement and all this. It's like he's doing this and negotiating himself into a deal that's similar, if not worse, than Brock Lesnar's current deal. You know, like I said, it's not a good look on their part if they let that happen. And our gardener just arrived now too, so he had a busy day. Anyway, but yeah, that's not a good look for them if they let that happen. So it's like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what occurs in between now and whenever the break happens. But yeah, this is what people warned them about. You know, they had the opportunities to avoid it, but now they're going to be paying the price. And again, like I said, I hope this turns into a storyline. Because again, coincidentally, from a continuity standpoint, it makes sense how it all intertwines. And if, you know, you do a storyline where it's revealed that the only reason he's acting like this, the only reason he's doing this to WWE, putting him in this predicament, is he wants to get back to them for not listening to his demands to shut the company down during the pandemic, I think it could work. Because you're giving him a reason as to why he's, you know, doing this. Why, you know, you're giving him a reasoning behind his actions. And it does play into legitimate real life, does play legitimately into a real life situation that we all went through. But, you know, let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about, you know, Roman Reigns possibly, you know, whenever, you know, very soon taking a very extensive break? And how do you think WWE is going to get the belts on him? I mean, off him, I should say. How do you think they're going to get him off him? Do you think they're going to get him off him, you know, before SummerSlam, at SummerSlam, Money in the Bank? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below, and I'll talk to y'all later.